Hi, I'm Errol Laborde. One of the really popular crews in Carnival is La Krewe d'Etat, which will be parading this Friday. I have with me on the phone the captain of the Krewe d'Etat, and his name is a mystery because this is one of the crews that just maintains the secrecy in the old tradition of Carnival. He's been captain for several years now, and also look, La Krewe d'Etat is one of these crews that you want to go and you want to see the parade, and you want to look at what they're doing because they have a lot of really biting satire and they got greatly designed floats. And so watch the parade. Don't just be thinking about beads all the time, but watch it. But meanwhile, they do have some really great stuff that they throw too. And so it's a lot that's going on one time. I mean, you want to be watching and you want to be catching things. Hello, Mr. Captain.
Hello, Mr. Laborde. How are you?
Hey, how many floats you running this year?
We have 22 floats plus our Dictator's Banana Wagon and High Priest Candy Wagon.
Okay. Now, I'm holding up right now one of the throws. This is a really nice thing. This is a bobblehead.
Yes.
And this, I assume, is the dictator. Now, the Krewe d'Etat doesn't have a king. It has a dictator.
Correct.
And so,
we have a dictator as our monarch, as our number one.
Okay, and so this is a dictator's bobblehead. And the dictator is always known by the name of Richard. Is that correct?
Correct. And this year's dictator will be Richard the 18th.
Richard the 18th. So I got the bobblehead, which is neat. There's no way I'm going to give this some. I'm keeping this right here. Okay.
Yeah, that's something new we have this year. It's a dictator. It's a bobblehead figurine of our dictator.
Okay, and it looks like you also have a plush doll of the dictator too that I'm holding up also.
Yes. We also have a plush doll that is our dictator. It's in the same garb that our dictator wears on the float, and so is the bobblehead.
Okay, and then speaking of plush, I have the other thing, the High Priest Candy Wagon, and this is like a pillow-sized plush throw.
Correct, and it's a depiction of our candy wagon, and we also have one of those for our banana wagon.
Okay, well, I'll talk about the banana wagon in a second. I have a thing that just blinks. It just blinks because it's Carnival. It's a thing you put around your wrist, and it's a blinking thing. But also, modern times, if you have an iPhone, it's an iPhone cover.
Yes, something new we have this year, and I think we're the only ones who have those. It's an iPhone 5 case that you use as put your iPhone in.
Okay, well, that just goes to show how modern the throws have become. You know, the Krewe d'Etat, I've always thought, has one of the great names in Carnival. What a great pun, the Krewe d'Etat. And I think that sort of typifies the irreverence of the organization. And I know that your theme is a secret, as it always is, but it is a satirical theme. I mean, you will be poking fun at a lot of things. Is that correct?
Yes, it will be. Our theme as always, is a satirical theme, and we like to have some fun, poking fun at local and national and political figures and different events and things that have happened during the year, and there's no malice intended. It's just all part of the good Mardi Gras satirical tradition.
Has anybody ever called you after Mardi Gras and says, "Hey, look, that looked like malice to me"? I mean, has anybody ever called up and said, you shouldn't have done that to me or something?
We have never had anybody call us and, complaining or having problems. We've actually had people call and want copies of the sketches. A couple of years ago we had Police Chief Surpass as the big chief in the parade, and he actually called and asked us if we could get a copy of the sketch. And the same happened with a couple years ago. We had Jim Letton as a chef on a float called Rotten Apples, and he was slicing up the apples, and the apples were all the people that he had pursued for corruption. And he actually called and wanted a copy of the sketch also. So we've gotten more of people thinking it's funny and getting into the tradition of it and the satire, and they know there's no malice intended, and so they kind of get into the fun of it, and they actually want copies of the floats.
Okay, all right. Now, now in a good parade like yours, there are two types of floats. There are the theme floats, and these are the ones that carry off an original idea each year, and these are the ones that you kind of keep secret. Then there's the signature floats, which are like your regular floats that you have every year. Among your signature floats, you have the banana wagon, which is patterned after the old Bruno's Bar banana wagon. And then you also have some groups, like you have your Dixie Dancy Darlings, which is members of Le Krewe d'Etat.
Right. We have the Dictators Dancing Darlings, which are members of Krewe d'Etat, and they do a spoof each year of something topical and dance in the parade, and it's sort of a takeoff on the dance groups you've seen in a lot of parades over the years and things like that. And it's sort of our little version of it.
Now, when you do satire, one issue that you have, of course, is that satire is topical. How current can you come? Because you have to design a float. How current can you come to something between when it happens and then actually getting a float ready?
Right. We usually will decide on our last couple of floats probably no later than about 6 weeks before the parade, 6 to 7 weeks before the parade. We can't wait much longer than that in order to be able to have them properly decorated and props made and things like that. So, but we can go up to about 6 or 7 weeks before the parade. We try to be as topical as and current as we possibly can.
Okay, before we go, can you give us a captain's inside tip? If somebody's watching, one thing you want to be sure that they see, what would that be? What would be your tip?
One of the things is be sure to watch. We make good use of the back of our floats, and we have some satirical puns and things on the back of the floats. So as the parade's going through, don't just pay attention to the float when it's coming to you or in front of you, but take a look at the back of the floats as the float is passing by.
I endorse that because I have done that. I'm one of these people that pays attention to the floats, especially for the parades that pay attention to their floats. And I have always make an effort with Etat to look at the back, because there's always that little zinger of a joke. And sometimes the satire on the back of the float is pretty much more stinging than what's on the side of the float.
Yes, you're right. And sometimes those can be some of the funnier things that we come up with and that our design committee comes up with. And so I think, we would like for people to pay attention to the back of the float as well as the rest of the float. Okay,
so I've got the dictator again here as we sign off, and his head is still bobbling. You'll be parading Friday night. There'll be the Hermes Parade first, which, by the way, is celebrating its 75th presentation, and then Le Krewe d'Etat, and then a little bit later in the evening, Morpheus. It makes for a big... the attendance, the crowds that Friday night is really as big as a Bacchus or an Endymion night. I mean, that's huge crowds that night.
Oh, absolutely, Errol. I can tell you, last year we had good weather, and it wasn't as cold as it had been a couple years before, or any chance of rain or drizzly. And I'll tell you, that crowd that we had out last year on Friday night was one of the biggest crowds I've ever seen in Mardi Gras. I mean, there were just, I think that's kind of sort of become the real kickoff of the weekend that night, and
sure, oh, absolutely.
A lot of people are in town from out of town by then, and the locals are really ready to get started. They're finished with their work week and they're ready to get started, and that has sort of become, I think, the kickoff of the final week of Mardi Gras.
All right. Now, if any people want to wave to the captain, will you be riding a horse in this parade, or?
Yes, I will be on a white horse in my captain's costume right at the very beginning of the parade, behind the Marine band and in front of the Dictator float.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a good place to be, behind the Marines and in front of the Dictator. Yes. That sounds like a safe place to be. Okay, well, Captain, congratulations. We'll be looking for you Friday night.
Good. Thank you, Errol.
Okay, and thanks to all of you for watching. All right.
Thanks a lot.